Welcome to NFL Imperialism. You may have seen this concept floating around YouTube, but I wanted to put my own spin on it and hopefully improve it. Before we get started, I humbly ask that you take a moment to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. This is going to be a series, and this channel has some other videos as well, sports related, entertainment related. We do a lot here, trying to grow the audience. We appreciate the fact that you're here right now. We ask that you continue to stay with us. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. If you're interested in a full, thorough breakdown of how this imperialism works, please check out the first 3 minutes or so of the 1966 video, which is linked in the description below. Otherwise, we are ready to start. Today, we're going to get down and dirty with the 1978 season. Lots of rule changes took place in 1978. The first and foremost of these were the NFL schedule moving from 14 to 16 games. Goalposts were moved to the back of the end zone from inside the end zone to make field goals 10 yards longer. And certain rules were put in place to make offensive football a little bit more prevalent. In 1978, the Steelers returned to the top of the mountain after a 2-year absence, becoming the first team to win 3 Super Bowls. The team they beat in the Super Bowl, the Cowboys, were the defending champions and were also looking to become the first team to win 3 Super Bowls. There is a good reason why these two teams were in that game. Looking at our rankings, they rank 1 and 2, but it's the Cowboys who take the 1 spot and the Steelers who are second. The Dolphins are still a strong team at third, and the Broncos and Patriots round out the top 5. Looking at the bottom 5, we have 3 teams at the bottom that have kind of fallen from grace: the Chiefs, the Colts, and the 49ers. You may notice that the Buccaneers, 1 year after the Seahawks escaped the bottom 5, have also escaped the bottom 5, so both in their 3rd season no longer exist in that realm. Who will win 1978 imperialism? We're gonna find out. This is 1978's first spin, and we will get 1977's champion, the Rams. They head to the southeast, so we're going to have the Battle of Southern California right from the jump. The Chargers will be hosting the Rams. After jumping out to a 14-0 lead in the first, the Rams now lead by 15 in the fourth. This handoff to Cullen Bryant around left end goes in for the touchdown. The Rams defense came to play. This is a strong Chargers offense that they kept out of the end zone. 28-6 is the final score, and the Rams continue their winning ways in imperialism. Looking here at the map now, Southern California is split no more. The Rams take the Chargers' land before they have a chance to expand into Arizona like they normally do. 1 team down, several more to go. This wheel is going to be landing on the Saints, and the arrows taking them north. So that's going to be an expansion. The Saints take over the state of Arkansas. We go back to the wheel where it will not land on the Saints again. It will be the 49ers. They'll also go north, slightly northwest, but they will catch the state of Oregon. And from there, they will expand. Maybe the 3rd time's the charm here. We will get the Colts. They are going to be heading to the northeast, so that is going to get us a game here. The Colts will travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. As we mentioned at the beginning, the Colts are a bit inept this season. The Eagles take full advantage. This handoff left to Wilbert Montgomery goes for a 2-yard touchdown. Eagles extending their lead here from 10-3 to 17-3. Final score 27-3, defending their home territory. Looking at the map, for the rest of the time that the Colts are going to be in Maryland, it's going to be tough for them. They're going to be giving up their land pretty easily, you might expect. They give up their land here to the Eagles. The Eagles get a little bigger and move on in the game. We check back in with the wheel, give it a nice hefty spin there. It's going to land on the Raiders. Arrow's going to head south, so no time to waste here. Raiders, Rams have given us a few great games in the past. Can they give us another one here? The Rams lead late in the first half, but the Raiders are on the doorstep of the end zone. The pitch goes to Mark Van Egan, slithers his way through, gets the touchdown. This will put the Raiders on top 14-10. That'll be our score going into halftime. Early in the fourth, it's now 17-10, and the Rams are threatening. Pat Hayden drops back the pass, finds receiver Willie Miller in the back of the end zone. That will tie things up now at 17 apiece, setting up for a great finish. The Raiders have first and goal from the 7-yard line. Hand off to fullback Arthur Whittington. Stopped just short. Mark Van Egan looks like he has it, but he stopped just short. On third down, Arthur Whittington closes the deal. Gets in, giving the Raiders a 24-17 lead. It is now the Rams' turn to respond. They quickly face a 4th and 6 inside their own 20. They're going for it. They're going to hand it off to Cullen Bryant. He's a little slow around the edge, and they're able to hold him up and stop him. The Raiders tack one on, win this game in LA, 31-17, and we will have a new champion in 1978 Imperialism. So the Oakland Raiders winning this game will take the Rams' territory. They now own the entirety of California outside of what the 49ers have themselves. They move on. The Rams are out. This is an absolute tight finish. The double colors don't help. That just gets into the Steelers portion of the wheel. We go northeast, which will send them into Buffalo. So 1978's Super Bowl champion Steelers will travel to face the Bills. The Steelers didn't face too much trouble in this game. Up 21-10 in the fourth quarter. This sweep goes to Franco Harris. Has no problem getting himself into the end zone, extending the Steeler lead to 28-10. The Bills tacked on some points toward the end. Final score of this game, 35-16. The champs move on. And in moving on, they will be taking over the state of New York, taking the Bills off the map and expanding their land. With 1978 Super Bowl champions advancing, we spin this wheel again to get the Green Bay Packers. They head to the southwest. Are they able to squeeze into that area between the Bears and Vikings and expand into the state of Iowa? We'll try this wheel again, and we will get the Miami Dolphins. So, as soon as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers entered the NFL, this map became a one-way street for the Dolphins. Whenever the wheel lands on them, at least the first time, there's no need to ever spin the arrow. They're going to be playing Tampa Bay or whoever may have taken over that land. That's the game we're going to get here. The Dolphins go to Tampa. This will be Tampa's first ever home game in Imperialism. And while the Bucs have improved, their offense is still a mess. This is them taking a safety. They allowed 24 Dolphin points from drives that started inside the 20-yard line. The only other points the Dolphins didn't score in that scenario is right here on a fake field goal. Brian Griese fires to Nat Moore, beats two defenders for the touchdown. This particular play gave the Dolphins a 26-10 lead. Our final score is going to be 33-10. So Tampa's proven themselves competitive. This time, that wasn't so much the case. Looking at the map, once again, the state of Florida will fall into the hands of the Miami Dolphins. The Buccaneers are out of the game. The Dolphins, a top 5 team, move on. We've now eliminated 5 teams from 1978. This wheel is going to just pass the Steelers and hit the Jets. Arrow's going to go west with a slight dip south, and that slight dip south is going to give them an expansion into the tiny state of Delaware. We spin the wheel once again, and it's not close this time. That's clearly landing on the Falcons. They're going southwest, so again, for the 13th straight season, the Falcons and the Dolphins will face off. This game will be in Miami. Miami has the ball at the Falcons' 32 in the fourth quarter, up 14-3. Brian Griese looking and dumps it off to running back Delvin Williams. Gets a good block, gets around the defender, outruns everybody else, gets into the end zone for the nice touchdown. That would give the Dolphins a 21-3 lead. They would add another before time expires. The Dolphins dominate the first and fourth quarters and win this game 28-3. This map is starting to look more and more familiar. The southeastern corner of the U.S., Florida and Georgia in this case, all belongs now to the Dolphins, and they will enter their period of isolation. We go back to our lovely wheel where we find that it will give us the Philadelphia Eagles. The arrow's going to go east, slightly north, and that slightly north is what's going to get this into the Giants territory. NFC East battle coming up, Eagles at Giants. Okay, maybe battle was the wrong word. A thorough domination by the Eagles in all facets of the game. 41-0 drubbing of the Giants in their own stadium. The Giants were called upon to defend their land. They were not able to do so. The Eagles joined the Dolphins in picking up their second victory of 1978 Imperialism. We continue chugging along here in Imperialism 1978. This wheel will land on the Browns and the arrow will take them northwest. So they will now renew hostilities in Detroit with the Lions. Nearing halftime, the Lions trail 14-0. They have the ball trying to get something on the board. Gary Danielson forces it to the fullback Horace King, where it's intercepted by Cleveland's Tom Darden. He takes off. He's got a couple of guys trailing him. They're not going to catch him. What a backbreaker. With zeros on the clock, the Browns will enter halftime with a 21-0 lead. Same score now in the third quarter. Browns have the ball at the 11-yard line, handoff up to middle to Mike Pruitt, and somehow he goes untouched. It's 28-0 Cleveland. Now the Lions are able to pull a touchdown back and get the 2, so it's 28-8. Cleveland have the ball at Detroit's 20-yard line. Another forced pass to a fullback, but this time it goes the other way. That's Walt Williams making the interception for Cleveland. They are going to try to catch him, and they get him at the 32. He's still on his feet, and he breaks free. One good turn deserves another, and the Lions all of a sudden have some life. This touchdown makes it 28-14, and for the second time, they're going to go for 2. This handoff goes to Dexter Bussey, and he just gets into the end zone, 28-16. Cleveland again in Detroit's territory. Detroit bring the defense up. Handoff goes to Greg Pruitt, and they're able to stop him. The field goal attempt by Don Cockcroft faces some pressure, does get the kick off, and it's no good. So here comes Detroit. They're trying to make some history here. From the 27-yard line, the pitch to Horace King. Slowly gets around the end, tiptoeing the sideline. They catch him at the 5-yard line. Next play, 1st and 5. Cleveland backs the defense up. Detroit will call an audible. And here comes the sweep to Dexter Bussey. He dives into the end zone. Touchdown. From 28-0 to 28-23. The extra point was good. They're going to try an onside kick here with 1:06 to go. The ball is loose, and they've got it. So now it's first down, first play after the onside kick. Danielson goes to Freddie Scott, makes the catch, 17 yards. Next play, they've got 4 wide. Danielson drops back, looks for Horace King. Oh, that was picked off last time. Avoided disaster. Now, Danielson has all day. Chucks it to the end zone. You've got to be kidding me. What a catch by David Hill. He is a Pro Bowl tight end, but that was amazing. The Lions lead 30-28. Cleveland has one last shot. All the way back at their own 21. Brian Sipe looks for Hall of Famer Ozzie Newsome. Incomplete. Look at that score. From 28-0, Detroit comes all the way back, wins the game thanks to a couple of 2-point conversions. Our final is 30-28. While we pull this map up, there's a couple of things to talk about here. First of all, had this game actually taken place in the 1978 season, this would have set the NFL record for the largest comeback ever. 28-0 down, all the way to a win. As we know now, the record's 33 points. But back then, this would have been the record. It certainly is the record for largest comeback in Imperialism. Somehow, some way, Cleveland finds a way to lose. They're out of the game. They're off the map. The Detroit Lions defend their home territory after some strife, and they move on. and we look forward to what they might possibly have as an encore. After all that, a wheel spin seems anticlimactic, but we're going to get an expansion because it's landing on the Dolphins. Which direction will they go? Northwest, so they will be expanding into Alabama. We go back to the wheel, and might we get the Lions? Nope, it slows down to the Packers. They're going to head southeast, so we're going to get that classic traditional rivalry. Packers at Bears. What we have here are two kickoff return fumbles by Bears returner James Scott. That was the first. This one here is the second. The Packers were able to turn one of those into this touchdown pass from David Whitehurst to James Lofton. This game was nothing, especially compared to the last one we just saw. The Packers win 12-0, scoring all 12 points in the first quarter. And for the second straight season, the Bears are shut out during their one Imperialism appearance. This Bears team, having Walter Payton on it, is the equivalent of having the Mona Lisa with 10 different leaks in the museum, all dripping acid rain all over it. The Bears lose, they're out of the game. The Packers are a bottom 5 team, but they've expanded their land, and they are starting to represent the Midwest in a much larger way. Our next game will have our 10th team become eliminated. This wheel is going to land on the Bengals, and they'll head northwest, so the Lions will be welcoming their second Ohio team. Will this game be like the last one? Bengals at Lions. The Lions lead 10-7 in the third quarter. They're at the Bengal 10-yard line. Handoff goes to Dexter Bussey, gets around the end, drags the defender into the end zone for the touchdown. That run has been working for Bussey all season long. The Lions now lead 17-7. Cincinnati trying to make their comeback. Al Baker has been in the backfield all game long. He tries again, but the pass gets off to Billy Brooks. Catches it in double coverage. Dangerous throw, great catch. 17-14 now. The Lions will be looking to extend the lead. They have gotten it to the 21-yard line. Gary Danielson is sacked by Eddie Edwards. Well, there he is. He goes down. So the field goal is going to be long. They're punting. Okay, the Lions are going to punt here from the 32. I know kickers back then didn't kick it as far, but here's something. That's clearly going to be a touchback. So the Bengals are going to have a chance here. It is 3rd and 17. Al Baker got another sack. Here he comes again, forcing the dump off to Archie Griffin. Not nearly enough. It is 4th and 11. They need this or it's game over. Anderson drops back, looks for Don Bass, and it's knocked away by the defense. That'll do it. The Lions win another close one. 17-14. They have eliminated the two Ohio teams by a combined total of 5 points. Speaking of Ohio, that state is now wiped out for teams that actually started there. The Lions take the rest of it, knock the Bengals out of the game, and they expand their land. It's time to go back to this wheel, and it's going to be close, but it's going to be the Patriots. Probably an expansion here. Yes, going southwest, they will expand into Connecticut, opening themselves up just a little bit more. We try the wheel one more time, and it's going to make it real simple for us. That lands on the Jets, and they are surrounded. No need to spin the arrow. They're going to be traveling to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. Philly leads 20-9 in the third quarter. They're at the Jets' 13-yard line. Handoff goes to Wilbert Montgomery, and he does what he does. Cuts in and out, runs in, gets the touchdown, extending the Eagle lead to 27-9. The teams would exchange touchdowns in the fourth quarter, but it never got closer. The Eagles win the game by a final score of 41-22. So like the Bengals before them, the Eagles wipe out an entire state. They take the rest of New Jersey, win their third game, and expand their land. Except when the Lions play, we haven't had a whole lot of closer games. Let's see what we can get here. This is going to just stay with the Chiefs. It's going to go slightly southeast, and again, that proximity with St. Louis is going to bring us the next game. Chiefs at Cardinals. The Cardinals open the game in their most traditional fashion. This is a long touchdown pass. This one goes to Pat Tilley. It's in the first quarter. The Cardinals lead 7-0. That was 48 yards. From here on out, Kansas City kicked some field goals. They were moving the ball, but they weren't able to close out the drive. That was 7-3. This makes it 7-6. Another one. These are all from Hall of Fame kicker Jan Stenerud. 7-9, and he gets this one to make it 12-7. The Cardinals had been dormant the entire second half, but here they spring to life under 2 minutes to go. Jim Hart finds Tilly as the defensive back closes down. That was third down, keeping the drive alive here. It is now second down. Jim Hart takes a snap. He drops back. Could he be looking deep? He is for Mel Gray, and another long touchdown pass for the Cardinals. They've been doing it for the past few seasons, and the Chiefs are going to rue this game. They fall by a score of 14-12. They only allowed 2 scores while scoring 4 times themselves. The only problem is the Cardinals' points were worth 7, and the Chiefs were worth 3. Looking at the map, the state of Missouri has been split. It is split no more. The Cardinals will take over the land and advance in imperialism. As teams continue falling by the wayside, we get another spin of the wheel. It's close. It's the Packers. Arrow's going to take them northeast. That is going to cross Lake Michigan, but it will hit the Lions' territory. And as those two teams currently share a border, that's going to be our next game. Another close one for Detroit. They lead 13-10 in the fourth. Gary Danielson drops back, finds Freddie Scott on a crosser right at the goal line. The Lions will extend their lead to 19-10. That's where it stays. The extra point got blocked. Lions get it back, trying to put even more distance in this lead. The pitch on third down goes absolutely nowhere. Leads to a field goal. 22-10. Green Bay now trying to make something of this. About a minute to go. The play action pass goes deep to Andre Thomas, and he makes an incredible catch in traffic. That'll make it 22-17. The Packers have one chance left here. It's the onside kick. They lay it down, but the Lions will recover it and run out the clock. Another close one, like we said. The Lions win 22-17. And looking at this map, that is the Lions' third victory. They're going on this kind of run once again. Those 3 wins by a combined 10 points after having been down 28 to Cleveland. They will eliminate the Packers while taking over their land and are looking like the team in the Midwest. We're getting an expansion with this spin as it's going to land on the Dolphins, but it's a photo finish, and that arrow is just hitting Mississippi instead of Tennessee. So the Dolphins will expand and expose themselves to attack a lot more than they would have otherwise. Our next spin of the wheel won't guarantee us an expansion, but it's very likely. That is on the Patriots. They head southeast, and indeed it's the smallest expansion we have available. The state of Rhode Island comes into the Patriots' fold. This season's imperialism has yet to give us 3 straight expansions, and it won't this time either. The Oilers are landlocked. They go northeast, so they had a choice of playing the Cowboys or the Saints. It will be the Saints in New Orleans. The Saints trail 17-7 in the second half, but they've moved the ball to the 20-yard line. Archie Manning faces a lot of pressure, but gets the ball off to Ike Harris, who makes the diving touchdown catch. 17-14 is the score. Now it's 20-14. Houston on the goal line. The play action to Earl Campbell. Pastorini squeezes it into Ken Burrow for the touchdown. The Oilers extend their lead to 27-14. The Saints score as time expires. It didn't matter. The Oilers win this game 27-21. So this is about when the Oilers started getting pretty good. They went to the AFC Championship game in 1978 and 1979, only losing to the Steelers. But here in Imperialism, they go on the road and take the Saints out of the game. They take over their territory, and they've got a pretty decent chunk of land. We've now cut 1978's field in half. 14 teams out, 14 remaining. That's the Eagles, and this might be the strangest expansion we've ever seen. From the center of the logo, we have this photo finish. That arrow is just touching the tip of the Delmarva Peninsula, which is property of the state of Virginia. And as it is currently bordering the Eagles' territory, that will be an expansion. So looky here, the Eagles take that area over. They are enveloping Washington, D.C. They too expand their land. Maybe we'll get something a little bit more straightforward this time. The wheel lands on the Vikings for the first time, and they go straight south. So yes, that is a very clear path. The Vikings will travel into Detroit, and they have stopped Detroit's runs before. Will they do so again? The Vikings lead 24-0 in the third quarter and are looking to add more. Fran Tarkenton drops back the pass, dumps it off to tailback Ricky Young, and Young will do the rest, getting it into the end zone, extending the Viking lead to 31-0. So, is this where the Lions make their comeback? Well, it's 37-9 in the fourth quarter. The Lions have the ball at the 5-yard line. The pitch goes out to Horace King, and he does score. So, this is going to be a 3-touchdown game. 37-16. We've seen the Lions recover onside kicks before. They're going to try another one here. Could this be an even more remarkable comeback? No. Chuck Foreman for the Vikings recovers the kick and leads to a field goal. The Vikings win this game rather handily in the end, 40-16. We've seen this before. The Vikings dash the hopes and dreams of the Lions in Imperialism. After winning 3 games, all at home, they can't defend their homeland against the Vikings. Minnesota takes over that territory, and now they are the team in the Midwest. And because they're the Vikings, they're always a threat to win the whole thing. The wedges on the wheel are certainly getting bigger. This one will land on the Steelers, and the arrow's going to take them south. So we're going to get the Battle of Pennsylvania, but a lot more land is on the line. The Steelers will travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Steelers have Sidney Thornton in for the injured Rocky Bleier, and he has stepped in and done a great job. That touchdown he just saw there broke a 7-7 tie, and then this one where he drags someone again extends the lead to 20-7. Unfortunately for the Steelers, they missed the extra point, so it stays 20-7, and it's now the Eagles' ball. They're in quite a tough spot here, 3rd and 20. Ron Jaworski, for once, actually has time, fires to Harold Carmichael, uses that height, goes up and gets it, and takes it in the rest of the way. Very important there, 49-yard touchdown, makes it 20-14. Steelers get a field goal, it's 23-14. The Eagles are going to try to come back here. Jaworski throws it up. Unfortunately, he challenged Mel Blount. That's picked off. The Steelers wind up getting another touchdown, winning this game and the Battle of Pennsylvania 30-14. Now taking a look at this map, the Eagles got themselves a nifty little piece of land, but the Steelers are going to take that over. And except for the Patriots and the Redskins, who they have enveloped, the Steelers are the team in the Northeast. Still a lot of teams we haven't heard from at all. The Oilers are not one of those teams. The wheel lands on them, but the arrow will take them to one of those teams. The Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl runners-up and #1 ranked team in our rankings for 1978, will see the field for the first time, hosting the Oilers. The Cowboys lead 17-0 in the second half and are on the doorstep for more. Facing a lot of pressure, Roger Staubach gets the pass off to Drew Pearson, who catches it in traffic. That extends the lead to 24-0. The Oilers have certainly improved, but going into Dallas is still a huge bugaboo for them. They go down hard, 38-0. Not much else to see here on the map, folks. The Dallas Cowboys will take over the Oilers' land, which does include Arkansas and Louisiana as well. Because of how the next map was saved, we're going to run these next 2 expansions together. Patriots Northwest, Vikings Southeast. For the Patriots, you will see they'll just catch the southern corner of Vermont, and the Vikings going southeast will go into Indiana. So here are those two expansions coming to your screen at the same time. Our next spin of the wheel here is just going to miss the Steelers and hit the Redskins, but because the Steelers envelop the Redskins, we have no need for an arrow spin. That's going to be our next game, and it's going to be in Pittsburgh. We've got a tight one here, 14-10 in the fourth. Steelers have the ball, 3rd and 6. Terry Bradshaw throws it into John Stallworth, catches it around 3 guys, gets away and scores. This became devastating for Washington as Pittsburgh went on an absolute tear. Look at that fourth quarter. 28 unanswered points, turning a close 14-10 game into a 42-10 blowout. The Steelers are indeed the Super Bowl champions this season, and they're starting to show it. They're going to take Washington off the map here, which is the equivalent of wiping a smudge off your computer screen. The Steelers move on. We're down to just 10 teams remaining. The wheel selects the Miami Dolphins. The arrow's going to take them north. It's a close call, but that is an expansion, not into South Carolina, but into North Carolina. We'll try this wheel one more time, and for the first time this season, we get the Seahawks. Arrow takes them southeast into the 49er territory. This is interesting. With the 49ers clearly in a downturn, this will be Seattle's best chance to win their first ever Imperialism game. Tied at 7 in the third quarter, the Seahawks are at the 15-yard line of the 49ers. Sweet play goes to Sherman Smith, and he gets into the end zone. He bowled somebody over on the way in. This gives Seattle a 14-7 lead and temporary control of the game. The 49ers now from the Seahawk 30. Steve DeBerg on 3rd and 10 hands it off to fullback Bob Farrell. That didn't get many yards. Led to a field goal. Seattle gets the ball back, handed off to their own fullback David Sims, and he fumbles. Eddie Lewis forces the fumble. The 49ers recover, get it down to the 10. They get pushed back 15 yards and try a fake field goal on 4th down. No good. We've seen that tried a lot by other teams. So Seattle gets the ball back, still winning 14-10. 3rd and 1 to pitch to Sherman Smith, no good. 49ers now have it, 2 minutes to go. Steve DeBerg steps up in the pocket, fires it deep, and that is caught. What a play there by Kenny Harrison. A couple plays later now, from the 23, 37 seconds left to go. DeBerg floats it over the middle of the field, and it's caught in the end zone in front of 2 Seahawk players. Touchdown, that is tight end Ken McAfee. San Francisco make a comeback, winning this game 17-14 and denying Seattle their first Imperialism victory. This is not a good 49er team. Let's be frank about that. I'm a 49er fan, and I can say that. But they will win this game. They'll take over the state of Washington from Seattle, and they own the Pacific Northwest at this point in time. As we push toward the end, we get another spin of the wheel here. It's going to land on the Dolphins, just barely. Arrow's going to take them slightly to the northwest. That's going to be an expansion into the state of Tennessee. We try this one more time, and it just missed the Steelers last time, and it'll hit them this time. Arrow goes southwest. That is going to dodge that little tail on West Virginia and go into the Dolphins' territory. So here we go with this game. The Steelers will be traveling to Miami. In the second quarter, the Steelers lead 14-7. They've got the ball inside Miami's 30. The handoff goes to Franco Harris. He's not just power, he's speed too, but he's also power, as you saw in that broken tackle. The Steelers will take a 21-7 lead with that play, and now they have the ball again. 1st and goal late in the third quarter, trying to put this game away. It's a play action. Throw to Lynn Swann is intercepted. Curtis Johnson gets in front of Swann to pick that off. The Dolphins have some life. They're able to take it all the way down to the 4-yard line, but this run here by Delvin Williams comes up short, and they're forced to settle for a field goal. The ensuing kickoff is handled by rookie corner Ron Johnson, and he fumbles. Who will get this ball? It's bouncing around. The Dolphins get it, and they're able to bring it back inside the 20. Can they take advantage as the Steelers are shooting themselves in the foot? The handoff will go to Leroy Harris, and he's being held up. He won't go down. He won't go down. Touchdown. Miami looked dead in the water, but 2 takeaways have brought him back. 21-16, they're going to go for 2. Harris fights and gets it. Here comes the onside kick. It is recovered immediately by Lynn Swann. The Steelers are able to drive it down to the 13-yard line. Play action pass to Swann. They're going to try this again, and this time it works. They tried to put the game away with that play in the 3rd. They successfully do it in the 4th. The Steelers travel to Miami, win the game 28-18. So, looking at this map here, the Dolphins, they only won a couple of games against their perennial rival Buccaneers and Falcons, but they built up some land they now cede to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So outside of the Patriots, who haven't gone on the field yet, the Steelers own the East Coast. Our next spin of the wheel looks to be taking us to the West Coast. That's going to land on the Raiders. Arrow's going to go northwest, and that was about the only spin that we could have got there to get a game here. The Raiders are going to go to San Francisco. This is going to be a huge game. Whoever wins this will be not only in isolation, but will be 2 states away from anyone else. The winner of this game might have a free pass to the championship game. The Raiders already lead 7-0 in the first, and they're driving again. This little out route to Dave Casper. He catches it in coverage, breaks away, and bursts into the end zone. This was just the beginning of the Raiders' domination. They led 28-0 at halftime, coasted in the second half, a 35-7 Raider victory. So like we said, looking at this map, we see the 49ers get erased, the Raiders take over all the West Coast, and are at minimum 2 states away from any other team. We're down to our lucky 7. The wheel will land on the Cowboys. Arrow's going to take them east, so maybe they're not so lucky. They're going to Pittsburgh. This is not only a Super Bowl 13 rematch, it's also a matchup of 1 versus 2 in our rankings. And remember, the Cowboys were the ones who took number 1. The Steelers' defense came to play in this one, and the offenses complimented them. From the 7-yard line, Terry Bradshaw will dump it off to Rocky Bleier, and he will scoot in the rest of the way for the touchdown. In the 3rd quarter here, the Steelers have a fairly dominant 21-3 lead. Dallas will try to respond, though. They've driven it down to the 16-yard line. Staubach has play action to Dorsett, throws it to receiver Tony Hill for the touchdown. Dallas has finally crossed the plane. It is now 21-10. It's up to their defense to make a stop against Pittsburgh here. It is 3rd and 11. Terry Bradshaw finds Lynn Swann 2 steps ahead of his defender. First down, but the Steelers have to settle for a field goal, so it's 24-10. Dallas can make this a 7-point game. Once again, play action to Dorsett. Once again, up to Tony Hill. The same play works. Dallas is going to now cut this lead to 24-16, and they said, forget about it. We're going for 2. This would make it a 6-point game, allow them to take the lead. Robert Newhouse untouched up the middle, 24-18. Can their defense step up? Terry Bradshaw drops back to pass, throws into the end zone to Lynn Swann, makes a Swann-like diving catch, a potential backbreaker there, 31-18, but Dallas isn't done yet. From the 11-yard line, time is ticking away. Staubach finds Drew Pearson for the touchdown. They're going to go ahead and kick this extra point, keep it a 6-point game. 31-25, here comes the onside kick. Just over a minute to go. That ball is loose, but the Steelers fall on it. It got excited fourth quarter. The Steelers defense started showing some cracks, but they had done enough earlier in the game. They are going to win and knock the Cowboys out 31-25. Looking at this map, the landmass acquisition is substantial, but the fact that they're knocking out the number one team is even more. The Steelers, moving on in imperialism. There are some good teams remaining here, don't doubt that for a second. But Pittsburgh's overall strength and the fact that they have yet to close out in imperialism will make them substantial favorites. We're just 5 games away now from crowning 1978's imperialism champion. Wheel hits the Cardinals, arrow goes southeast. That needs a photo finish. More than that, we need a close-up photo finish, and we see that that arrow will just avoid hitting the Steelers and going into the state of Kentucky. So looking at the map as a whole now, the Cardinals will expand into Kentucky and avoid playing a game for now. We will spin the wheel again, and it will just creep into the Vikings portion. Arrow goes southeast, so they're going into Kentucky, which means they're going to play the Cardinals. Now for the Cardinals, instead of traveling to Pittsburgh, they're going to host Minnesota. Let's see if that works out to their benefit. A tight, scoreless first half gives way to this Cardinal drive in the third quarter. On third down, Jim Otis goes nowhere. They're forced to settle for the short field goal. It's good. Arizona gets the first score, 3-0. The Vikings drive back, though, perhaps inspired by the Cardinals' offensive fireworks. This pass to Sammy White goes for a touchdown, our first touchdown of the game for either team. The Vikings streak ahead, 7-3. What would the Cardinals do in response? They get a good drive going, but get knocked back. It's 3rd and 17 from the 30. The pass to Otis is incomplete. The longer field goal try now, 48 yards, is no good. The Vikings, on the next drive, try to take advantage. They're in Cardinal territory. Pitch goes out to Ricky Young, uses his speed to get around the end, and no one will lay a finger on him. A back-breaking touchdown for the Vikings. And given the state of the Cardinals' offense in this game, they were not able to come back. 14-3, Minnesota travels to St. Louis and wins this game. So with the Cardinals getting a bit more straightforward as far as their landmass goes, Minnesota gets a nice clean expansion directly to the south. They are now all over the Steelers' territory, and that's a game we might not be able to avoid, but we would definitely want to see. We're back with another spin, and it's going to just stay with the Raiders. Guaranteed expansion northeast, so that expansion will be into the state of Idaho. We go at it one more time, and this one will just stay with the Patriots. Arrow goes to the southeast. That's going to hit Long Island, and that is a part of the Steelers' territory. The Patriots finally have to take the field, and they will do so in Pittsburgh. Late in the third quarter, the Steelers have kept the Patriots at arm's length throughout. This handoff to Rocky Bleier takes a 24-16 lead and makes it 31-16. The Steelers will extend that lead, and the Patriots are expected to respond here. And respond they do with a drive that goes all the way down to the 8-yard line. The pitch goes to Andy Johnson. He gets around the defense, dives in for the touchdown. With the extra point, it's going to be 31-23. If the script of this game holds up, the Steelers will now respond. They are at the 5-yard line. Bradshaw takes a snap, hands it to Bleier, gets around the end, spins away, and gets into the end zone. This call and response would continue for the rest of the game. Pittsburgh never got out too far ahead, but never trailed, never tied. They win this game in a shootout of sorts against the Patriots, 45-29. Looking at the map here, the Steelers will wipe out all vestiges of the Northeast. The Patriots' land falls to the Steelers, and except for unclaimed land, the entire East and Gulf coasts belong to the Steelers. All teams remaining are strong enough to win Imperialism. The Vikings, multiple-time winners, are chosen. They go southeast. They're going to go right into the heart of the Steelers. We're going to get that game right now. The Vikings waste absolutely no time striking down the field to the 35-yard line. Play action. Fran Tarkenton fires to Sammy White. Easy touchdown. Minnesota, this is their chance to win this game. Jump out offensively. Win 7-0. Pittsburgh strikes back. They took a little longer than Minnesota did, but they get it down to the 20-yard line. Terry Bradshaw rolls out, dumps it to Rocky Bleier, runs it in the rest of the way for a touchdown. This set up a back and forth where in Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and then Minnesota scored again. Minnesota gets a stop, lead 21-14, have a chance to really extend the lead. This pass will be incomplete, 24-14 after a field goal. Pittsburgh gets a field goal. It's now 24-17. They're trying to tie things up. They're deep in Minnesota territory. That's Franco Harris up the middle for the touchdown. And they have come back and tied this game after trailing 10. It's 24-24. Minnesota has gotten it deep again. They're at the 10-yard line. On third down, Tarkenton throws to Foreman again incomplete, trying that play again. Settling for a field goal again. And the kick again will be good. Minnesota gets back in the lead, 27-24. Here on third down, late in the third quarter, Terry Bradshaw hands to Bleier. He's stopped. They're going to measure for the first. He got it. That keeps the drive alive. It's now the fourth quarter. Terry Bradshaw drops back. Throws to Lynn Swann. Comes back for it. Touchdown. The Steelers will have their first lead of the game. 31-27. Now it's Minnesota's turn to respond. It's 3rd and 4. Fran Tarkenton is going to scramble for it. Runs into some linebackers. Here's their measurement. It's short. They're going to come out on 4th and inches. And the Vikings are going to throw to Harry Washington in for the injured Sammy White. Incomplete. Pittsburgh takes over. Very first play of the drive. Play action to Harris. The throw deep to Swann. He makes the catch. 50-yard completion. What a turnaround. Very next play. This time the give goes to Harris. He's going to score. The Steelers extend their lead. It is now 38-27. They go ahead and tack one more on before the end of this. What a game for the Steelers. They never led till the fourth quarter. Then they dominate that quarter and win by a score of 45-27, which is almost identical to the score they just beat the Patriots by. So let's take a look at this map. First and foremost, the Midwest no longer belongs to Minnesota. It now belongs to the Steelers. They take over that land. And what we have here are 3 teams remaining. First of all, they're all in the AFC. First time that's ever happened. But also, here is a super unique thing. All 3 teams are in isolation. That doesn't seem likely, but a team like the Broncos that started in isolation that has not yet been called can create something like that. So, as we decide who is going to play in the Imperialism Championship game, we're going to have to go through a few spins here to get these teams out of isolation and into playing each other. So while that's happening, I'm going to take a break and play this old ditty for you. Okay, we have a game now. It's going to be a battle of the AFC West teams. The Oakland Raiders will travel to the Denver Broncos. That means the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1978's Super Bowl 13 champions, will play for the Imperialism Championship of 1978 as well. They await the winner of this game. The Raiders had little trouble moving the ball early, whether it was throwing or running, but they've had to settle for a couple of field goals. That first one made it 3-0. This one makes it 6-0. With the first half winding down, they're in scoring range again from the 26-yard line. Ken Stabler rolls out, drops a dime on the slant to Morris Bradshaw. He makes a nice move, gets into the end zone. The Raiders break through, lead 13-0 at the half. The second half descended into some terrible interceptions by both teams. That was one from Denver, this overthrow from Oakland, another screen pass. The Broncos' offense was inept. On 4th and 11 here, they run it up the middle. Can't get anything going. The Raiders add a field at the end, win the game 16-0. So we have our championship game in 1978. The Oakland Raiders didn't do much for a lot of the game, but they got themselves in isolation to earn their spot here. The Steelers won 7 games to get here, and they are the reigning champions. They will look to be just the third team to win Imperialism and the Super Bowl in the same season. And funny enough, they're trying to be the first team to do that without defeating the same team they beat in the Super Bowl in Imperialism. Raiders, Steelers, championship game up next. All we've got to do now is spin that wheel to find out who's attacking and who's defending. Here is that spin, and it looks like it's going to be tight to the end. That will hit the Steelers. So these two rivals from the 70s and going on until the modern day, beginning with the Immaculate Reception of 1972, will get on the field and decide who the Imperialism champion of 1978 is going to be. On their opening drive, the Steelers take the ball down to the edge of the red zone. Terry Bradshaw looks left, finds John Stallworth, gets up and gets it, giving the Steelers an early 7-0 lead. That is 22 yards on the touchdown. The Steelers force a punt here from Ray Guy, Ron Johnson, to return it. He breaks a tackle, and he's stripped. The ball is loose. It's going to be picked up by the Raiders' offensive lineman Dave Dalby, and he runs it in for the game-tying touchdown. So the Raiders have done nothing yet, but they're tied at 7. From here, the Raiders turn into a comedy of errors. On this play from their own 20-yard line, L.C. Greenwood steamrolls Stabler for the fumble. Stabler throws this interception, and then he throws this interception into the end zone. Both interceptions made by Mike Wagner. Had a great game sticking to Cliff Branch at the safety position. The Steelers only able to make 3 points out of all that. They lead 10-7 in the third quarter. This handoff to Rocky Bleier, he breaks a tackle, drags another one into the end zone, and despite dominating this game, the Steelers just now take a 2-score lead, 17-7. Late, the Raiders have one last hope, maybe to try to do something in this game. They're backed up all the way at the 3-yard line. Ken Stabler sacked in the end zone by the one and only Mean Joe Green. That safety is the final score of the game. The Steelers, after having a couple of shootouts, finally display that awesome steel curtain defense in this game. They pitched a shutout on defense. Remember, the Raiders' only score came on special teams. 19-7 is our final, and the Steelers, 4-time Super Bowl champions in a 6-year period, still unprecedented in the NFL, now have an Imperialism championship to show for it. They also have this map to show for it. The Steel City is now the Steel Nation. The Pittsburgh Steelers, despite having some great teams, have yet to break through in Imperialism, but they did it here in a season where they also won the Super Bowl, making them dual champions. The Pittsburgh Steelers had to endure a shootout to win Super Bowl 13 against the Dallas Cowboys. That game was 35-31. In Imperialism against the Raiders, they won a low-scoring defensive battle more fitting of their style. That said, it's not like the Steelers didn't have excellent offensive players, and looking at their roster here, it's filled with Hall of Famers. But we want to concentrate, like we like to do, on the offensive line that makes any kind of offensive output possible, led by all-time great Mike Webster at the center position. Now we want to look at the backbone of the Steeler team, the Steel Curtain defense, and up and down, all you see here are tremendous football players. You can pick any name out. Jack Lambert, all-time great. Donnie Shell, undrafted, all-time great. Mean Joe Green, all-time great. They had to go through some games where they gave up some points, but when they were needed most, this defense, like they always did, stepped all the way up. Except for when the Lions played, with very few exceptions, all games early on in 1978 weren't very close, decided by at least 12 points. In the second half of games, it got a little bit better, a little bit more competition, but the key throughout is that the Steelers dominated, winning every game they played, right up to the championship game, 19-7 over the Raiders. And that Steeler domination is reflected perfectly in these records. With their 8 victories, they more than doubled what anybody else had. Only the Eagles, Lions, and Raiders were able to scoop 3 games out altogether. In the overall records now, the Steelers shoot all the way up to 22-12, which places them just behind the Redskins in 5th place. Of all the teams that have winning records, only the Colts and the Lions haven't won an Imperialism, with the Lions a full 8 games over 500. The Vikings maintain their lead at the top overall, and the teams at the bottom are still the teams at the bottom. Thank you all so much for getting this far in the video. 1978 was a pretty big year in the NFL. I'd say it was a pretty big year for me too. I don't remember it at all, but it's the year I entered the earth. If you guys happen to like the video, please make sure you click that like button. Share this video with others that may enjoy it. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, the bell notification as well, so you don't miss out on any other video we put out, whether it be in an Imperialism or not. But speaking of Imperialism, if you're watching this video as it's released, we're only a few days away from 1979 being released. If you happen to be watching this at some point in the future, 1979 and beyond will already be done. All of those links are in the description below. Before signing off, we want to take one last look at the Steel Nation. The Pittsburgh Steelers justify their excellent team and their excellent performances throughout the last few seasons with this 1978 Imperialism victory. Thank you all so much once again for taking the time out of your day to watch this. We really hope you enjoyed it. Have an awesome day. We will catch you next time.